go ahead and begin our council meeting. Welcome to everyone. The first thing we will do is have a roll call, and then the invocation will be given by Councilmember Steve Brandow today. We ask you to please stand for that. And then we'll have a pledge allegiance to the flag, also led by Councilmember Steve Brandow. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember BAINES, Brandow.
Here.
BREDEFELD.
Here.
Capriolio. Here. Chavez. Here. Soria. And Olivier.
Here. Okay, please stand.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful summer day, Lord. We thank you that you brought us here to this place, Lord. And I pray that today, as we have a special meeting, very important issues on our agenda, help all of us as council members and administration in the city of Fresno do our best under your watchful eye, Lord, to serve the citizens of the city of Fresno. I pray that you give us wisdom to that end and bless our day. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
It's time to approve the agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to today's agenda?
Just a couple of changes on items 1C and 1D. The certain finance officers to sign various city documents will be adopted by a resolution. Resolution is not on the agenda, but we should have a resolution. And file number 17938 regarding the marijuana is laid over to July 20th, 2017. Those are the only changes.
938, so 1F. Okay. What help me out? What exactly does needs a resolution and a resolution in terms of items 1C and 1D? What does that mean?
Yeah, they should be adopted by resolutions.
Oh, okay.
Usually it would say resolution first and then the action, but it doesn't list the resolution. But we need to adopt them by resolutions.
Okay, so that means, okay, sounds good. All right, then.
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve and a second, not on the agenda. Any other council members have any items they wish to remove or change the agenda? Okay, the screen is clear. Is there any opposition? Okay, seeing none, the agenda passes unanimously. Thank you, council. We go to ceremonial presentations. The first one and the only one is a proclamation for the Miss California pageant, and this is by Member Bredefeld, Mayor Lee Brand, and also Council President.
Why? It's my party.
Welcome. I've been telling everybody all the hard work that we do here at the council, and today I really had a difficult task because I was going to have to meet a lot of people in this California competition. Very difficult. We have a proclamation. Just want to say how proud we are in Fresno. Fortunate ladies last Friday. And I'll be there on Saturday night at the big event. So welcome to Fresno. Hope you guys have a great time. They've been here since future. Hope you help you guys.
This thing is so bad. Yeah, and again, just kind of to piggyback on what my council colleague and our mayor said, just on behalf of the entire city council, we're very pleased to have here 22 years as almost a quarter century. Fresno, doing so much not just for our local economy and continuing to put Fresno on the map, but also all the good work you do for California's young women, who in turn do so much good work for their own communities. So we're very proud of you all.
Oh.
The proclamation.
Whereas the Miss California Scholarship Organization is a volunteer-based 501c3 nonprofit organization which was founded in 1924. As the official state final to Miss America, the Miss California organization has awarded more than $6 million in cash and academic scholarships since the competition made its home in Fresno in 1990. Whereas the 2017 Miss California competition will be held this year at the Soroyan Theater in downtown Fresno from June 27th to July 1st, will be streamed live to more than 20 million viewers statewide and will contribute over $250,000 in revenue to our local economy. Whereas the winner of this competition will represent the state of California at the Miss America competition later this year. Whereas educational advancement, achievement, and public service continue to be the primary objectives for the Miss California organization in the face of changing roles for women in American society. Whereas Miss California is a competition of excellence about the significant need to serve others with dignity, courage, intelligence, talent, and kindness. The contestants learn that secret to living is giving, and the woman who wins the crown must have a servant's heart. Therefore, be it resolved that on this day, June 26, 2017, the mayor and council members of the city of Fresno wish to show their pride and gratitude to the Miss California competition by declaring the week of June 25th to July 1st, 2017, Miss California Week in the city of Fresno.
You know,
Say a few words. Unfortunately, our sound system's on the first. There you go. The floor is yours. Well, Mayor Brand is so happy that you're here that he actually turned down the thermostat a little bit so that hopefully it will be just a little bit cooler. Thank you, Mayor Brand.
hey, Mayor, I had a question for Miss California. Jenna, how are you? Here I am. Hey, I love the crowns, but Friday when we welcomed you, y'all had those beautiful hats, and yours was the largest of all. Yeah, so is this is the new look? That's great. And the rest of the people are preparing for the pageant and the event? Well, thank you guys for taking the time to come down here. And our current Miss Teen, outstanding teen, how are you? Good to see you again. So welcome, and this is my third year welcoming you, and I'll do it for 4 more years. So thank you guys for being here.
I think he looked good in a crown. Let's get him one.
I need one. I need a crown.
Okay, then we will move to, that is the conclusion of ceremonial presentations. We can move to the consent calendar. Do any council members have any item they wish to remove from the consent calendar?
Yes. There's his ordinance that we voted against.
It won't be heard today. It's gonna.
Oh.
Okay.
All right, Council
Member
President,
Brandau.
I'd like to pull item 1B.
It's
Is that correct, or is that the one that's been,
B as in boy or D as in dog?
B as in boy?
Okay.
And then I just want to make a comment on 1E. I really don't want to pull that, but I just want to recognize Linda East to the District 2 Implementation Committee. She's going to be a great addition to our team.
Thank you, Councilmember Brandau. At this time, we'll go out to the public.
Are there any members of the public who wish to address any item contained on our consent calendar today? Please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment, return to the dais. We have one that's been removed. Anyone else? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar. Member Soria?
I just wanted, actually, I had a question on 1G, so
You want to pull it?
I guess I'll pull it, but
Okay.
I do have a question.
All right, 1G. Okay, we have a motion to approve. And I will go ahead and second. The screen is clear. Is there any opposition? Consent calendar passes unanimously. We go down quickly to item 1B, adopt the fiscal year 2018 salary resolution. This is from personnel.
Good afternoon, Council President. Any questions I can answer? This is an annual resolution to implement our salary schedules.
Thank you, Jeff. Could you kind of give me a brief recap and any major changes going on in this year's salary resolution? Are there any major changes? Or
The predominant major change has to do with Exhibit 2, where we're increasing the salary ranges by 2%. To address compaction and keep current with other changes that are taking place with other units.
And so we don't usually increase the salary ranges annually, or not that much, or?
It varies from year to year. Unit 2 is not an automatic change year after year. They were not changed last year.
Okay, so you're creating a little bit more flexibility for compaction problems, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
All right. Any other major changes to this year's?
There's a lot of cleanup that has to do with sick leave language and Labor Code 233 and implementation of AB 1522 and SB 579. That's a long way around saying we cleaned up a lot of language relative to the use of sick leave.
All right, cool. Thank you. I don't see anybody else punched up.
No.
I'll open the floor to if anybody else wants to talk.
Are you going to make a motion?
No, somebody else can do that.
Okay. Motion to approve. Okay, we have a motion by Member Capriolio. All right, we have a second from Member Baines. Member Soria.
I guess I just have a follow-up question. Are these increases, were these reflective then in the budget? I don't recall that being mentioned during budget.
These increases,
or the flexibility that you're saying.
The departments have allocated funds for providing salary increases within the Unit 2 classes. There's the minor change that would impact the classes that are identified as having an immediate impact is about $15,000 in total.
For the year?
For the year.
And we took that into account in the
Yes.
budget?
Yes.
Okay, I was just wondering why. I know it's a small amount, but I didn't read it anywhere in the budget. Okay, that was my question.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. The screen is clear. Is there any opposition to this item? Seeing none, the item carries unanimously. We move now to item 1F. No, 1G that was pulled by... Who removed item 1G, Member Soria? It's all yours.
Is there staff? Oh, right there. I'm like looking over
Where'd you go?
I just had a very quick question about, are we looking at or considering talking to local folks, like folks that work in the Bitwise hub, to see if there would be any other any other tech companies could have the capability to create this application that you guys are exploring?
So the application or the system that the department currently uses is a proprietary software. The module allows that software to be converted to a more standardized data set, and that from that point, that will allow us to acquire displays from other companies other than just from the company that also makes the software. It also allows us to expand the use of the data to real-time applications such as you would find on a smartphone, through Google, So this purchase of this module will allow us then to leverage that investment to other applications, such as real-time displays at a bus stop. As you've seen maybe at some of our bus stops, real-time displays are part of BRT, but it also allows us to start acquiring hardware from other manufacturers, as well as opening up the data to other users, such as Bitwise, who may want to use it for their own purposes, or for us to expand the use of that information in real time to smartphones and other media.
I guess my question was more towards just the application, an app, like a phone app. I know in other metros, you can go I know when you go to DC, you can link up and they will tell you in real time, where the metro's coming or the next bus, so that you're planning your trip. Will this provide us the opportunity? And if it seems like it is, are we looking at some of the local folks here, because we do have kind of a growing industry with an interest in the tech?
Right, and again, the application or the software, more importantly, the data is derived from the department's computer-aided dispatch system. So the operating system for Fax's Fixed Route and Handy Ride is a GPS AVL-based system. It's been around for about 15, 20 years. So we are going to be going out to replace that system in the next year and a half, 2 years. So when that happens, and someone like a Bitwise might be interested in bidding on it. But again, it's not just providing information, it is the scheduling and everything else that comes with that.
Perfect, thank you. I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. The screen is clear. Is there any opposition to the item? Okay, seeing none, item carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to the 10 o'clock item. This is actions pertaining to the City of Fresno Annual Action Plan. And this is Development and Resource Management.
And that's been moved to the 20th, Council President?
17-746?
Yes, it shows continued to a later date.
Okay.
We just had to put it on the agenda today, so we wouldn't have to renotice it.
All right, then let's get to it. This is item 3A of General Administration, approve in substantial form. City Manager. Baseball.
Good afternoon, Council, Council President. As we have advised you previously, the administration has been in negotiations with a potential new owner of the Grizzlies franchise since early January. We believe we've reached a point in these negotiations that we are prepared to recommend an amendment to the amended and restated stadium sublease agreement. To be clear, today's vote does not necessarily mean that we have a deal yet. This is going to be predicated on the potential buyer and seller also coming to an agreement. So in the event that they cannot, this agreement will not go forward. The second item that is a condition of this agreement, all debts owed to the City of Fresno will also be paid in full at the closing of escrow. And that's an important component of this deal, as I will get into the capital reserve account that we have established as a result of these negotiations. This agreement will expire on December 31st of 2036, pardon me. It also includes a community engagement event provision. The new ownership group has committed to hosting at least 100 community events over the course of the year that generates or attracts at least 10,000 attendees. The cost or in-kind contribution of these various events. First it's the microphone, now it's this. Pardon me. The value of this contribution is approximately $100,000 a year. Their failure to meet that benchmark will result in penalties But given the conversations that we've had with the team and the interest from the community to host events, especially from local high schools and other nonprofits, that we believe that they're going to have an easy time of filling that calendar. The annual rent under this agreement will be $500,000 a year. There's also an annual profit sharing component in which we would receive 20% of anything net of $500,000 after expenses. As with the current agreement, there will be a review of the annual audited financial records. And then we have negotiated a non-relocation clause or agreement that is essentially if the team attempts or the team relocates during any time of this agreement, the liquidated damages are based on the amount that is owed against the stadium at the time that relocation occurs. Right now we owe approximately $40 million against the stadium. Given the cost of that, we don't believe this team's going anywhere anytime soon. Capital reserve. Now, this is probably the part that caused us to take as much time as we did to negotiate this agreement. The new ownership group did the same thing that we did about a year and a half ago, is that we did a facilities assessment. That facilities assessment identified a significant liability associated with the future cost of owning this stadium. It was well in excess of $20 million over the next 20 years. So as you can imagine, anybody coming into this deal was concerned with that future liability and the ability to address that. As a result, the parties have agreed that would be the current ownership, the potential new buyers, as well as the City of Fresno, that we will collectively contribute $5.25 or $5,250,000 to a capital reserve fund at the time of closing. The city will contribute $3 million towards this fund. The money will come from rents that are either have been deferred or have been paid previously. About $1 million had been collected from the team that had not been obligated before, and then at the time of closing, the current ownership group owes us approximately $2 million. So our contribution will come from either rents that have been were previously paid or have been deferred until the time of closing. The current ownership group will also contribute $1.25 million, and the new ownership group will contribute $1 million. Going forward, APES fees will be also dedicated to the capital reserve account, and there will be a slight increase over subsequent years just to keep up with inflation. Beginning in January 1st of 2020, the annual capital reserve contribution from the new ownership group will be $300,000 a year, and the city will match that by paying $300,000 or obligating $300,000 towards this capital reserve on an ongoing basis. So, in a nutshell, the team is going to provide 100 community events. The rent's $500,000 a year. Beginning in 2020, they're going to be contributing another $300,000 ongoing to the capital reserve, and they are committing, or we are collectively all committing, $5.25 million to this, what I refer to as a sinking fund, to fund the cost of various repairs and capital repairs that will occur over the course of the year. We also believe the relocation language helps ensure that the team will stay here in Fresno because of the fact that if they do leave, the liquidated damages are predicated upon, again, the balance owed against the stadium at the time that was to occur. With that, that concludes my presentation. I know Mayor Brand also would like to make a couple of comments, and after that, we're both open to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, City Manager, Mayor Brand.
This must work. I want to thank the city staff, my staff, Tim Orman and others, Lori Avedisian, Doug Sloan. There were a lot of people involved in this process over the past 6 months. I also want to thank the Baker family, Ray Baker and Michael Baker, Jim Kufos, the principals, and the new team that reached out to us, met at least 2 times at City Hall, several phone calls that every time we had to seem to get an impasse, we'd always find a way, either side, to make the deal happen. I think this is really good for Fresno. It brings in a group that has extensive experience in baseball in Colorado, have a great reputation. We have done our due diligence on this in terms of their net worth and their ability to run this team. And the proposed transaction is an all-cash transaction with no leverage on debt. And they're putting up, I don't know if you covered this, Bruce, a $1 million irrevocable line of credit. That's basically 2 years' rent for the first 5 years. So I think we've done as good as we can possibly do in our due diligence to bring in a well-qualified team. And we hope that we still have the Houston Astros here. That could change. We don't know. But either way, we want to have a AAA team in Fresno. And really important to me is we have an arrangement now where we've addressed the deferred capital costs that have been a problem in the past, that with this new team coming in, we're going to have a stadium that always looks first class, and it will be a great amenity for the community in downtown. So I'm enthusiastically recommending that we approve this deal. And I've reached out to most council members. I tried to ask every question we have, and like anything, there's nothing that's 100% certain. There's only 2 things that are certain. Steve, what are they? That's right. So, but I got a pretty high confidence level on this deal. And again, I recommend to my colleagues that we approve this proposed lease. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, we'll go out to the public. Okay, that's for Gary. We'll do that unscheduled. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council on this agenda item? Please come forward. Please give us your name and address for the record, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Council President. Good afternoon, Council President and members of the council. My name is Nathan Alonzo. I'm with the Fresno Chamber of Commerce, 2331 Fresno Street, just a 93-degree short walk away from here at City Hall. So on behalf of our organization and its members, I stand here in support of this item and the deal that the administration has put together to ensure that the city of Fresno keeps and helps the Grizzlies be even more successful. This deal that's being proposed this afternoon takes into consideration the investment that will be necessary by both the city and the ownership group to ensure that the stadium is being maintained and modernized for the beneficial use of both the city and our community. This deal will also ensure that no general fund dollars are being used for these repairs, an issue that's been a concern of this council and our community in the past. Putting our best foot forward in establishing an attractive and equitable framework will help both attract a new ownership group and reduce the risk of an empty stadium for our city. We believe that this is a good deal. Like Mayor Brand said, there's no such thing as a perfect deal, but this is a good deal, and we ask that you join us in the administration in supporting this deal this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address council? Please come forward. Give us your name and address for the record. You'll have 2 minutes.
Derek Franks, 1755 East Salem in Fresno. My name is Derek. I'm with the Fresno Grizzlies. I know all of you guys, and I don't envy the job that you have. I always say that. I think when I come up here, it's a tough job. Took a lot of guts to build the stadium downtown. It did. It's a beautiful stadium. And you know the remark I want to leave you guys today as you make your final decision is I've had the fortunate chance to be with the club since 2004. Young kid, walked in, got an internship. I've been able to stay with this club, been able to see a lot. And one of the things that I think is important to note and about this deal is we really got serious about selling this ball club in December of 2012, I think is about how far this goes back. And to kind of echo the point that, maybe there is no perfect deal. I will say that from the inside, being able to see the number of groups that have come and looked at this, tire kickers are more serious than that. We've had a lot of people look at this ballpark and look at this situation, and this is a good deal for the long term of Fresno to keep us competitive with all these other ball clubs when we are out looking for to ensure that we keep an Astros affiliate or whichever team is out there, and to keep baseball in this great city and be one of 30 great communities in America that gets this great AAA ball stadium. So I encourage you to pass this amendment today and let us get this team sold. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council on this agenda item? Please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll return to the dais. We have a number of council members punched up, beginning with Member Chavez, then Member Brandow, and Member Baines.
Thank you. I had a couple of questions for our team, and I was glad to hear that, all of the debt that the city has accrued, the team has accrued, will be paid off with the sale of the team. And then, Bruce, thank you for clarifying that point, on what happens to this deal if, for whatever reason, the two parties don't come to an agreement. That's something that I'm going to be keen on, and I want to just say it publicly that I know we're trying to make the conditions right for the purchase. I will be supporting this, but should the deal not go through with the two parties, I do reserve the right to change my mind on any potential deal, because I think part of the strength of this proposal is in the potential buyer and their track record. And should that change, then I think we need to change circumstances for this body. But I had a very specific question for Bruce. So part of the, I think the good thing that we're revamping is the sinking fund that we'll both be contributing. I think that's great. But my question is, will the amount that we're contributing to the sinking fund be enough to pay for the ongoing maintenance costs based on our needs assessment that we performed?
Again, the sinking fund was established based on those capital repairs and what will be needed. So the fact that we're front-loading $5 million up front, and then this agreement essentially is putting another $600,000 into this account over the next almost 20 years, should be, and given the adjustments for inflation that we also have included in this, there should be sufficient revenues to cover those expenses in future years. And those expenses could range, as some of you already know, a future replacement of the scoreboard, air conditioning units, major capital improvements that were outlined in both our assessments that we conducted by professional engineering firms.
Sure, and that's what I wanted to make sure that we're clear on. And I know we can't predict the future, and there could be something that happens there but from your assessment and the needs assessment that we made and the amount that we came up with, you're pretty comfortable that it would be enough for the ongoing maintenance. Yes. of that. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Council President. I've just got a couple of comments and a question at the end. And it's funny, Derek, a lot of times I say that one of my colleagues beat me to my questions or my comments, but really you beat me to my questions and comments this time when you mentioned that we've been really trying to shop around since 2012. I got elected in 2012 and I got seated in January. So really since that time, since I've been elected, we've looked at this team really solidly for a little over 4 years and what needs to be done in the city of Fresno. And you talked about groups that have come in and kicked the tires. We've had plenty of those that have come in and poked around and looked around and seen some of the situation at the stadium and some of the terms of the contract, and for whatever reason they walk away. And so it's really led us, in my opinion, to a point where we're at today where we have two doors to go through. We're going to have to go through one of the doors, and we have a buyer that has a track record and the financial means to take over in a fiscally prudent way, I think, is one option. That would be one door. Another door is, in my opinion, simply the door if we did not execute a contract or enter into a negotiation, the city of Fresno could find itself owning a baseball team. And I think that would be really detrimental, full of a lot of its own problems, where we'd be out trying to run a baseball team with everything else that we're trying to accomplish in the city. So that's not a door that I want to go through. So we've taken a lot of time to vet this other door, this other opportunity. And as recent as this afternoon, I had a phone conversation with Councilman BREDEFELD, with Dan Barrett, who's our consultant, to help us analyze and look at all the different options we've had for years. And one more time, I just wanted to confirm, with Dan, the opportunity that's in front of us. And it's his opinion that probably if we don't seize this opportunity, we might end up owning a baseball team and trying to run a baseball team, and we have a difficult enough time doing what we do up here. So with that being said, I think that there are valid criticisms of the original stadium deal. I really do. I've talked about them back and forth over the course of time. And I do regret that every year we have a $3 million hit bond financing for the city of Fresno that comes right off the top of other stuff that we could use money for. I do regret that. But at the same time, I'm following Mayor Brand is saying that, today is not a day to regret the past or even rehash the past. It's a decision that council has in front of itself today. And we could complain about how we got here, but that doesn't really help. This body needs to decide what we're going to do going forward. I'm going to be supportive today, and I'm going to do that with my fingers crossed that everything goes as the city of Fresno has planned. As the mayor's talked about, no deal is 100%, and this deal is probably not 100%. But as Derek alluded to, we've had a lot of people that have come into the city of Fresno and look at making deals in the past, and for whatever reason, they've all fallen away. I certainly don't want this body to run and maintain a baseball team with a whole bunch of problems that could arise from that. So I'm going to be supporting going into this contract today. I do want to talk about one thing, Bruce, and it's something that I brought up in earlier discussions on this, is there's going to be a certain number of open days at the stadium. And I've always felt that, despite the fact that it was part of the original equation, I've always felt that the open days could be marketed a little bit better than they have been in the past. And I've asked for the administration if we could possibly go out to RFP and take a look at a promoter that could come in. Once the baseball days have been settled, we'll know what days are available. Most of those probably be after the season's over or before it starts, with a few exceptions. We can't touch the field really during the baseball stadium. But is the administration open and willing to go out to RFP or consider looking at a promoter to maybe make some extra profit from those open days?
Yes, and as we have committed, we will be back to council, hopefully to award a contract to a promoter or someone to come in and help us, both us and as well as potential new ownership. But even if this deal doesn't go through, we are committed that we will be back in front of council with a contract to hire a promoter or consultant, whatever we want to call it, who will help us go out and market that facility. And we will include in that RFP a requirement in which they kind of express to us what ideas they have, so that we kind of invoke that kind of thinking as part of their proposals, so that we can evaluate those proposals based on that creativity and what those opportunities may be.
Well, I appreciate that, because I think things are a little different now with the growth of downtown and some of the other great things that are happening in downtown Fresno. Not too long ago, there was a large event in downtown Fresno. Some of these things we could tie in to the baseball stadium, to Chansey Park, and maybe capture some different events down there. And so I know Councilman Capriolio and I have talked about a couple others, as well as Councilman Baines and I have talked about a couple of opportunities. So I think there's some things that we could look at downtown. I also do appreciate that inside this contract that there's still going to be a lot of use for the community. In October of every year since I've been a council member, we've had what's called Make a Difference Day at the stadium, where we have real young soccer players come into the stadium and get to play soccer down in the middle of the arena, and it makes them feel great. We take team pictures, and so there's still be a lot of opportunity for that. So I think it's the best deal that the city of Fresno is going to get, and so I'm going to be supportive today. Thank you.
Thanks, Council President. And I'll make my comments really, really brief, because, quite frankly, I'm going to join in what my colleagues have already mentioned. I completely join in Councilmember Chavez's remarks that, listen, one of the reasons I think we have a lot of comfort in this deal is because of the ownership group that's coming to the table. So if for some reason that were to change, I think I would feel differently. So I wanted to say that, and I want to also commend, the administration, totally, the mayor, and you and your team, Bruce. I think from my perspective, we have a high degree of confidence because we know Mayor Brandon, we know you all, and I think in many ways, as my friend Steve Brandow says, this is right in the mayor's wheelhouse, negotiating a deal like this to give us some extra comfort. I appreciate Councilmember Brandow going the extra mile and talking with Dan Barrett and making sure that we're on solid footing and confirming everything you and the mayor have done. So I join in all of the comments, and particularly I wanted to highlight one, my colleague Councilmember Brandow said about the co-promotion. I think, listen, it's always been the idea to utilize this stadium as a city asset, and it's high time we do it. Happy that you're going to be bringing something back to us. It was a particular point of Councilmember Brandow, and I want to give him that acknowledgement here publicly. It is something, Councilmember, that you've been driving for the last several weeks in this process, making sure that we are able to utilize that stadium for our benefit, and I wholeheartedly joining that with you. And lastly, I'll just say my friend Councilmember Capriolio always calls us the cleanup council. This council body over the time I've been here has had to take on a lot of tough issues that were, and I agree, it's not worth revisiting the past, but, listen, the truth of the matter is we are trying to clean up something that happened a long time ago. And I think that this, although not perfect, this gets us there. So anyway, I'm happy to join in and support my colleagues.
Member Bredefeld.
Yeah, Bruce, I have a couple of questions. First, I too don't want to revisit the past, but I have a unique perspective, having been one who supported getting the stadium built. Very proud to have got the stadium built, because if that was still dirt today, we'd be having very different conversations today, such as what do we do about our downtown? How do we get it revitalized? How do we get the Patterson building built or purchased, the Helm building purchased? How do we get anything happening downtown? Because those were the discussions in 2000. Thankfully, in 2017, we have very different discussions about what's happening downtown. It's always easy to be a Monday morning quarterback. I think we all know that. It's easy to sit on the sidelines and criticize what was done before. It's easy to be a critic. It's harder to get something built. We did that along with 4 other council members. I'm proud of that. I think they are too. Question. The city has met its obligations, right? In all 15 years that we've been in agreement with either the Diamond Group or the Fresno Baseball Club, our obligations, the city has met its obligations.
That is correct.
The Diamond Group, the original owners, they didn't meet their obligations in terms of a $1.5 million lease agreement. They didn't follow through on their commitments. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Is it also correct that the Fresno Baseball Club, current ownership, has had problems too? They've struggled in spite of the fact that in 2009, their lease was renegotiated and basically more debt was taken to the city in order to help them.
Yes, that's correct. I think it's obvious that we've been through 2 ownership groups, and both those ownership groups have struggled, and one of the biggest struggles has been the costs associated with the agreement, and more importantly, the ability to generate sufficient revenues to cover their expenses.
Bruce, I'm not sure if your mic is his mic?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But in discussions with the current ownership group and in discussions with Dan Barrett, the biggest challenge facing any ownership group is directly tied back to the debt service and the costs of the stadium, and that is something that they both have been challenged with. And then you add on now, which is why I think was one of the telltale signs of this particular group, is one of the very first things they did. It was assess the future liability costs of the life cycle replacement costs of that stadium. I don't think either one of those previous owners or anybody looked at those costs in the future and say, okay, if I build a $50 million stadium, what is the ongoing cost of owning that stadium? So as a result of these negotiations, we both recognize that regardless of what happened in the past, the taxpayers have a $50 million investment. Sure. And in order to ensure that investment is well cared for and taken care of and maintained as it should be, we are both contributing a significant amount of money up front as well as over the next 20 years or so in order to ensure that no matter what happens, that investment is maintained to the standards that it should be maintained in order to protect that investment.
Yeah, and that's one of the positive things about this third amendment is that it's very clearly put forward that there's going to be a deferred capital cost fund, both funded by both entities, the new ownership in the city to make sure that happens, and that's something that I really like about it. But again, I'm getting to something that is related to today. The Sacramento River Cats, as was pointed out to me today by Dan Barrett, pays the bond debt, which I think he estimated was about $3 million a year. They pay that. The ownership does. The reason why they pay that is because they run a successful operation. They make money. They do things right and they follow through on their pledges because they run a successful operation. The problem has been not that the city has done anything wrong, but that we've had partners, owners, that haven't been able to run a successful operation. Is that fair to say that?
I would say that it's fair to say that both previous owners or the current owner has been struggling with putting or making money at the stadium or at as part of their ongoing deal, for lack of a better term.
Okay, and what we're optimistic about is we have owners, Ray and Michael Baker, and I've looked them up. We have Jim Kufos. These are very successful business people. They have run, and maybe you can speak to it. I mean, they have minor league teams that they've run. Ray Baker seems to be an icon in the Denver area,
yes, he is.
operating Coors Field, having oversight on that. I mean, we have people who have a real track record of success.
Track record of success in real-world experience in AAA, in baseball in general.
Okay. And just something, when I looked at, just historically looking at the disposition and development agreement of building the stadium, when we built it, we had hired PricewaterhouseCoopers to do an independent study, obviously a well-known company, and they said the stadium was supposed to enhance economic growth, spur private sector development, create additional affordable entertainment alternatives for families, create new economic opportunities for local businesses, enhance community pride, self-image, exposure, reputation for the city of Fresno, and alleviate blighted conditions. Has the stadium done that?
Well, you have to look at the stadium as either a profit center or an amenity.
Either what?
A profit center or an amenity. Mm-hmm. If you look at it as a profit center, not so much so. Mm-hmm. If you look at it as an amenity, yeah, it's exactly the reason why I think you, as well as others, made a decision to build the stadium. I'm not going to look in my rearview mirror as to whether or not it was too big of a stadium, too expensive of a stadium,
sure.
what some outside third party said it would or wouldn't do. I can tell you that there is development occurring along Fulton. I'll point to the South Stadium project. There'd be no South Stadium project, or South Stadium investors would not be looking to invest at that corner if it wasn't for a fact that it's going to overlook a stadium. So it's like building homes next to a golf course or building homes next to a park. That amenity will be the catalyst for that development, along with the investment along Fulton. But as far as whether or not it triggered any direct reinvestment shortly thereafter, I think that would be a little bit of a stretch. A lot of the development that has occurred in the Cultural Arts District had to do with the support of the council, the redevelopment agency, and essentially buying down the capital costs of something like the LEED or any of the other Granville developments. And then we certainly have high-speed rail that will be coming to downtown. So whether or not it had anything to do with a lot of the development, especially development in south of Fresno Street, I would not tie that to the stadium, but I certainly would argue that those other investments that are planned or will occur around the stadium are due to the fact that the stadium is there.
Yeah, and we could debate that, and that's, and it's not for this arena, but I do want to say, since the stadium was built, we had 500,000 people every year come through there for one reason or another. That's 7.5 million. We've gotten national recognition. Obviously, the year before where they won the national championship, you mentioned the South Stadium, which is about a $30 million potential investment. Chichansi invested $16 million in naming rights. Bitwise Industry, Jake Soberall said very clearly, on record and on tape, if not for the stadium, he wouldn't have invested $7 million in the building he has now. That's a $7 million investment. There's 500 apartments and lofts all around the stadium, a $90 million private sector investment. I think that's kind of indisputable that if the stadium hadn't been built, there wouldn't have been things there. So we don't need to go further. There's other buildings that have been purchased that have sat idle until that stadium was built. Don't want to rehash that because, as people say, we don't want to rehash the mistakes of the past. But having said that, let's get to the present deal. I'm fully in support of it because we're in 2017, not 2000. And I think the mayor, his staff have done a phenomenal job. Councilman Brandow and I spoke to Dan Barrett at my request to speak, to find out more information. I met with the mayor, I think it was Saturday, to go over this deal and get some additional answers to this, because I think it is up to us as council members to get that information. It isn't just up to us to say, we love Mayor Brand and we think he's terrific, so we're going with it. I think it's up to us to do our own due diligence, and that's what I am going to do and have done, and I think that's what the people who elect me expect me to do, is to take on that responsibility as well. And I've been satisfied with what Mayor Brand has shared with me, and we've gone over this, and I think you and he and Dan Barrett and the city attorney have done a terrific job at bringing something forward that is difficult. I think we all want new ownership. I think these guys are the real deal as I've looked into it. And in terms of the deal, let me just ask a question. There are 3 entities listed in the deal, 3 different LLCs. Can you add anything to that in terms of any concerns about having 3 different LLCs?
I'm going to ask Lori to weigh in on whether or not there's really any nuances to the 3 different LLCs listed in the agreement.
Is this working? Okay. Well, Fresno Baseball Club LLC is the current ownership group. They will be signing the agreement because they're making $1 million contribution, so that evidences that. Then there are 2 separate LLCs related to the buying group, the parent company and the subsidiary company, and that's a similar ownership structure to what we have now with Fresno Baseball Club. So there's no concern with 3 LLCs.
Okay, good enough. And Bruce, they mentioned about doing 100 events. I mean, that sounds insurmountable. I don't even know how they're going to do it. And I know it's not formalized concerts or anything like that. It can be any event, including a meeting there. But it still seems like 100 events, and if they don't meet that obligation, there's a penalty. I mean, I like the fact that they're committed to that. Any concerns about their ability to actually do 100 events?
No, because as Councilmember Brandow indicated, there's an opportunity to have youth soccer. There's opportunities for youth baseball. I know our good friend Terrence Frazier, who's operating Granite Park, puts on a tournament every year for youth who are at risk. The city's cross-city marathon starts and ends at the stadium. High schools are interested in having events there. And it's not just on the field. You can have an event anywhere and host conferences or a meeting. If our I don't know what we call it now. It's not the crew club, whatever it is now. It's a great place to host community events. You could have fundraisers. You could have dinners at the stadiums. So I think that is indicative of what the Bakers bring to the table. They do this. They know what can be hosted at the stadium. And given that there are some clawbacks or some penalties associated with failing to meet that obligation, I'm pretty sure that they're confident they can deliver on that, or they wouldn't have been agreeable to the penalties for failing to meet that obligation.
And there will be there'll be an audit each year on their books in terms of how they're operating.
Yes.
Okay, that's an excellent thing too. And then I guess just the final thing on the non-relocation, the pledge agreement. Talked with Dan Barrett about that. What the council did in 2000 was they had a pledge agreement where basically if they defaulted, the city could go in and take over the asset, which is actually the team. Not that anybody would obviously want to do it, as Councilmember Brand did. We don't want to go in the baseball business. But as Dan Barrett said, he felt that's obviously works in the city's interest more than not having it, but they don't want it, which I understand. In 2017, why would you want to have that kind of thing hang over you? I do like that if they don't meet all their obligations, then they're basically held account for the remaining bond debt. The issue for me, though, is if for whatever reason they aren't able to meet their debt obligations, how would they ever meet the $20 million in debt that would be owed on a bond or anything else?
Well, again, we've gone over this, and Doug, if you don't want to expand on it, we believe that from a bankruptcy standpoint, that obligation would be one of the first things that would have to be recovered.
Well, the obligation to pay off the debt on the stadium is connected with a non-relocation agreement. Under the non-relocation agreement, the team is prohibited from going somewhere else without the city's permission. The first remedy is to get a court to issue an injunction to keep that from happening. If the court doesn't do that, then the team is obligated to pay liquidated damages, which is the outstanding debt on the stadium debt.
Okay. I understand. And, obviously if we came to that point, there's no great option for any of this. So we just want to prevent that from happening. I'm very thrilled about the prospect of this new ownership group. I think it'd be phenomenal for us as a city, and to maintain this asset for the next 15 years, because we're halfway through the debt. And I look forward to having 15 more years of this being a jewel in our downtown, which it has been, will continue to be, and your efforts and the mayor's efforts have ensured that there's this capital project, a capital fund, to ensure that it remains a jewel. And so I will fully support this. And again, I want to commend the mayor, you, your staff, the city attorney, Dan Barrett, everybody involved in making this happen.
Thank you, Council President. I'll try to keep my remarks brief. I too share, I guess, the excitement amongst the council about a new potential owner. I will preface, though, that it does give me a little heartburn, I will say as well, because I know that there were some comments made by the public that mentioned about not dipping into the general fund, and that's not the reality. So if you could just, for clarification purposes, because the general fund is footing the bill, and that's just a decision.
For all practice, everything that we're talking about ties back to the general fund.
Yeah. So it's general fund. I just wanted to make sure that we clarified for the record so people understood. I think for me, even though it does give me a little heartburn, I understand that I have an obligation as a council member to make something work, and this is our asset. And I know that from the work that you guys have been doing over the last 5 years, you guys have been trying to get the best deal, but it still gives me a little heartburn because it is not only $2.5 million for the bond debt, because that's what we would have to pay off, correct? And then also $300,000 that will go to the capital reserve fund, which we have to get from somewhere, right? Which would be general fund dollars. And so that's at least about $2.8 million of general fund dollars that would be going into this deal, or to make this deal work.
If I could, council member, so yes, the debt is the annual debt on the bond is about $3 million. We have just refinanced that debt, didn't extend it, but we got a better money rate. The savings associated with the debt on the stadium was close to about $150,000, maybe $200,000. So the net amount that we're putting back into the capital reserve is really only net $100,000 more if you take the difference in what we're paying on the new debt, new bond payment, and the savings. So we're taking that savings and just kind of applying it back to the stadium.
Okay, so it'd
be about a net of about $100,000 more a year. And remember, neither the current ownership group or the city is contributing anything towards a future life cycle replacement fund. So in the event that something was to happen, as we saw when the scoreboard went out, we loaned the team $500,000 and they've been paying us back. By the time they pay us back, that scoreboard is probably going to need to be replaced, not because it's not working, just because it's antiquated.
Any more general fund dollars that we haven't already given? Because the general fund dollars that we are putting into the sinking fund were general dollars that we fronted because the team couldn't pay the rent.
That was general fund.
So it's all general fund money. I just want to make sure that that people know for the record, and that we know what we're voting on, that it is general fund money. But again, for me, I know that I understand that I have an obligation to make this work, not only for the sake of making sure that our asset it continues to be worth something. But I think, as you mentioned, and as some of the council members mentioned, really to truly bring revitalization of our downtown and the heart of our city, which I know we've all been attempting to do, and I know that the stadium is an anchor for that and has been an anchor to attract future development. I also just wanted to ask quickly on the community engagement events that this deal commits. Will the events be free of charge, like for the nonprofits, if it's the nonprofits that want to use the event, or will the nonprofit be?
That's our understanding, is that the event, when hosting the event, will be free. The value of having to put on those events, the support of those events, will be an in-kind contribution up to $100,000. So it's a great opportunity for nonprofits to utilize that stadium for special events, meetings, dinners, things of that nature.
So we could, if there's nonprofits that come and reach out to us, we could forward them and make sure that
we would
the
help
team
facilitate that conversation with the new ownership group. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I know that there's always interest in the community and in figuring out how they use that stadium.
Right.
Okay, perfect. And then just, I think those were all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to follow up on Member Soria's comments there, so I'm a little confused. So what's the annual amount from the general fund to sustain the stadium, approximately? Is $2.8 million I wrote down, and then it was $300,000, and
so we are contributing for the ongoing, the life cycle costs, or the capital reserve. The city's contribution at the time of closing is $3 million, and that is being funded from deferred rents. The team owes us currently around $2 million in back rent, or rent that's been deferred, and then $1 million that had been collected from the team previously but not obligated or not spent. Then beginning in January 1st of 2020, they will be putting $300,000 in this capital reserve. We will be putting $300,000 in a capital reserve for a total of $600,000. And then the annual ongoing debt, the mortgage on the stadium itself, is about $3.1 million annually. As Councilmember Soria has pointed out, all of that is general fund revenue.
3.1 total?
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Bruce. Wow. Well, as was said earlier, I don't want to rehash the financial mistakes of the past, at least for the past 17 years or so. And I'm happy we finally have a group that can really benefit themselves as well as the city of Fresno and help us mitigate this general fund loss on an annual basis. So I'm happy to do that. I'm happy we're in mitigation mode to make all this happen. It took a great team effort, I know, by you and the mayor and the staff. And we've had many, many meetings over my 4 years about this issue, and finally you guys have put it together and made it work. So thank you all. I'm proud of my association with you, Mayor Brand, when we were council members, and now as mayor. I'm happy to say that with your leadership, we become the cleanup council once again. So the other thing that was mentioned was the dates for the stadium. So the promoters of the Grizzly Fest came to me and asked if I could help them, and I partnered with maybe mayor someday, Oliver Baines. Start a rumor here. But they came to us and asked if we could help them with the Grizzly Fest promotion, which we were more than happy to do. And so it started about 12 in the afternoon. It went to about 2 in the morning. And Oliver and I had the privilege of being on stage with some of the famous acts that were there. And the point of the story is, with vendors and the public, the ticket buying, the sales, the concessions, the whole thing, there were 11,000 people there to celebrate that event. So I know we can do those events in the future. In fact, they've contacted me and they're looking at, this is for Derek and Lance, April 28th, April 29th of next year. They'd like to do the same thing and maybe make it a 2-day event and bring that prosperity back to the stadium and to the city of Fresno. And I've asked them if they could think about doing it 2 or 3 times a year. You could do a country western festival. You could do a variety of things that would bring people in Fresno. We have such diversity here. I think it'd be a great success. So again, I want to thank the mayor and for you all putting a real deal together. Thank you.
Okay, the screen is clear, Council. I absolutely will be supporting this item today. I think that Mayor Brand and your staff did excellent work. I know this came before us once before, and you did good work on that, so I think you're the right guy in the right place to take this on and make this happen. And baseball is so important to our community. I see it every weekly when I go down there for homestands. And, absolutely happy, delighted to be able to move the ball forward on this. Wrong pun. That's a different sport, but you know what I mean. So with that, the screen is clear, and let's go and vote electronically, please. Oh, was there not a motion? We have a motion by Member Caprillo, second by Member Baines. Let's go ahead and cast our votes, please. Do you want to speak? Oh. All right, it's unanimous, 7-0. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our next item. This is actions pertaining to for FPOA Unit 4 personnel. Are you out?
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Ken Phillips, Labor Relations Manager with the Personnel Services Department. We're asking Council to approve a successor MOU between the City and the Fresno Police Officers Association. Along with that, the First Amendment to the 2018 Salary Resolution and an extension and amendment to a side letter of agreement with FPOA on lateral hires. The successor MOU provides for wage increases, incentives to peace officers from other agencies to come to Fresno, and changes to work rules which benefit both the department and officers. Details are available in the staff report and attachments. Damon Kurtz, the president of FPOA, is here in the audience today, and I'd like to ask him to come forward to share in my presentation of this item to you.
As it comes up, Council President, I can make a motion to approve.
Okay. And we have a second.
I'd just like to thank Council and then thank Labor Relations, the Mayor, Bruce Rudd, and all the work that went into this. This signifies 10 years without a real MOU since 2009. 2006 with the original contract, it expired in 2009, and there were several extensions that went through the recession, but this is the first actual MOUs that was negotiated since 2006. This wasn't without challenges. There were expectations that maybe were higher than they should have been. Those expectations remain. The vote was 59% yes, 41% no. So that tells you there was a divided membership. Those are good numbers in an election, but they're not very good numbers when it comes to ratification of a contract. So it just keep in mind that the membership is still somewhat divided. There's still an expectation that we don't fall farther behind our neighbors in the industry. And if we're going to find a way to attract not only police officers and other employees to the city of Fresno, but also businesses, we have to figure out ways to generate more revenue and attract more people. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Council. I'm available for any questions Council might have.
Thank you. Let's go out to the public. Are there any members of the public who wish to address this agenda item? Please come forward. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to Council and close public comment.
And Council President, if I could, I'd also like to thank Damon and his whole negotiating team. While this isn't Damon's first rodeo, it's his first contract as a president, and as he's painfully aware, it's a little bit different, especially when there are those who didn't spend as much time as his team did looking at the numbers and also working with us. This was a very unique set of negotiations in which we opened our books and we opened in a lot of ways ourselves up on both sides of the table to the challenges that we were both facing. At no time was there anything but a sense of cooperation, understanding, and openness to appreciate both of our positions and the challenges that we're both facing. So I just want to express again my appreciation to Damon and his leadership as well as his negotiating team. He was having and still to this day trying to overcome some expectations that unfortunately for us we were not able to meet. But as We have demonstrated not only in this year's budget but in recent budgets our commitment to public safety, in particular the Fresno Police Department. We're rebuilding that department as well as we are the fire department, the parks department. We all recognize we got a long way to go, but we are committed to doing that, and that includes making sure that we provide all the resources that our officers need to protect us and protect this community on a daily basis. So, Damon, thank you again to you and your team for your support and help in getting this done.
I'm going to shift. I just wanted to just reiterate my thanks to Damon and your executive board for this really unprecedented transparency and collaboration. I realized what the obstacles were, and you guys did a great job getting past that. I recognized the issue of compensation in the future and fully committed to public safety, and I appreciate the work that everyone in the FOA does, all the police officers, the brave police women and men that go out every day and risk their lives. But there's a future out there for us, and we're going to work together, and we're going to find solutions. Again, thank you for your cooperation.
I'll make it quick. I was literally echoing the sentiment of the mayor, city manager, and just wanted to just say leadership counts. Definitely appreciate you and you Damon and your leadership team for getting us to this point. So I think this council in particular is happy to work with you guys. I think that matters a lot in getting things done. There's a trust level there that candidly may not have been there in the past. So we look to build on that.
Well, with that, the screen is clear. Do we have a motion and a second? Okay. Member Soria, do you want to speak? Okay, we do have a motion and a second, and the screen is clear. Is there any opposition to this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, the item passes unanimously. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Mayor. Okay, the next item is the 3C, resolution of the council concerning Measure C extension, Finance Department.
Yes, Council, good morning, or good afternoon. This is the annual routine resolution necessary to ensure that the city receives its Measure C allocation in FY 2018. Just a note that this has been accounted for in the FY 18 budget, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you. We'll go out to the public. Are there any members of the public who wish to address this agenda item? Please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and bring it back to council. We have a motion to approve by Member Baines. I will go ahead and second. The screen is clear. Is there any opposition to this item? Item carries unanimously. I'll just say that. Next one is item 3D, Resolution 60th Amendment to the AAR, Department of Public Utilities.
I just realized this is your last item that you're going to be dealing with.
You have to go quick. I got people itching to go.
Fiscal year 8/17, so I'll try to make it quick. Good afternoon, Council President Olivier and members of the City Council. My name is Henry McLaughlin. I'm the business manager for the Department of Public Utilities Water Division. Today, presented for your approval is the adoption of the 60th Amendment to the Annual Appropriation Resolution, which would increase the budget for the Urban Growth Management, or UGM 101S Wellhead Treatment Fund by $500,000. This fund was established years ago to receive and disperse developer contributions for the construction of treatment facilities at water wells in the UGM 101S area, which is basically located in northeast Fresno. The recent water quality issues that we've all been dealing with and have occurred in this area have required the installation of certain capital improvement projects to mitigate impacts to customers. These projects include chemical feed systems, water quality monitoring instruments, and other water quality treatment systems. And approximately $500,000 of this cost has been expended in the Water Enterprise Fund. So we would like to transfer those dollars or those expenditures into this fund. In addition, we're going to be we already did request and got approval for $1 million in the FY18 budget, which you recently adopted. This action will have no impact to the general fund or the water ratepayers. The projects in this fund are all fully funded through UGM fees paid by developers. We recommend approval of this resolution and are available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Let's go out to the public. Are there any members of the public who wish to address today's this agenda item? Please come forward. Seeing no one, we'll go ahead and close public comment, return to the council. Chair will entertain a motion to approve. You want to speak?
I guess I'll just make the motion if you don't care. Yeah.
There's a second.
It's also Councilman Bredefeld's district as well.
All right, and then he'll second it. All right, the screen is clear. Is there any opposition to this item?
Thank you.
Item carries unanimously. Stick around, folks. We do have one unscheduled communication. Gary, please come forward. Oh, it's all right. Take your time. Give us your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Yeah, Clinton, sorry.
Okay.
My name is Gary, 2026 Exit Way. Clint, got a problem to the...
All right, take your time.
Got a problem with Manchester Mall. Security there's harassing me a couple of times. I can't go pay my bills to Metro phone place right there in the entrance. They got a camera rides. He's so rude. He told me that I can't leave. He will put me in jail. And I went upstairs and talked to the supervisor, and I can't. That's called harassing. And look here, Clint. Every time I come here to City Hall, that man right there knows me.
Yeah.
Never give me problems. Never. That's my boy right there. Okay? So, anyways, I just let you know is we need to figure out about Manchester Mall, about the Metrophone. Every time I go in there, he's harassing me. And I already told him, I said, look, you harassing me again, I'm going to talk to Clint. Oh. Yeah. Clint, I know him, Clint, the 2015 before I came to Fresno. That man right there helped me a lot. And let me tell you something about this. This man right there called my name. He really in the note to my mom. That man right there saved me not walking. This guy right there is my buddy because he bought me a bike. But thank God, because I know you guys are busy, but one thing is we need to figure out about Manchester Mall. And also the buses, too. Because Henry ride, my girlfriends ride the bus a lot. So we went to school together, and I got a new girlfriend already, Clint. So let me tell you real quick. I saw her to Fresno City College.
She got mad because you took her out on Handy Ride?
No.
Okay.
No. But, yeah, so you better be nice to her.
No, I will.
Yes,
I'm
because
trying
you
to
don't.
be nicer.
She's like my sister to me to Fresno City College.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank God you're not there because it got free food for me.
Very good. Very good. Well, no, I mean, I know that we're working on the bus. You know what? By fall, we're going to have the bus station at Manchester is going to be all redone, and it'll be nice. And
okay,
I'll try and help you at Manchester too. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary.
All right.
Appreciate it. Okay. And I'll try to be nicer to Esmeralda too.
Yeah.